Welcome to another Clutch Burners podcast. This is your home for stick shift drag racing, stick shift tech, and in this episode, my awesome co-host there, Rich Guido, the Canadian Chuck Norris, we're going to dive into actually some questions that were asked by some listeners, and that's how to stick shift drag race or where to start out. My lights are flickering. I'm going to adjust those just a second.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how it doesn't make me look so pasty, but...
There we go. Well, hi.
Well, BangShift Billy, what's been shaking? What's that behind your left ear?
This one over here? Well, this is, I'm actually in the shop, actually. This is the first time I've done one of these in the shop. And that's the mezzanine that I built. And if I flip the screen up a little bit, you can see I'm sitting underneath it.
Oh, cool.
But I built a loft in the back part of the shop. And it's the width of the shop, which is 24 feet, but then it goes out 12 feet. So it gives me a lot of square footage up top to put stuff that was just in the way, like air compressor. I don't have water out here, but I put a 275-gallon water tank up there, so I gravity feed a sink and a pressure washer if I need it. And so I built these stairs out of aluminum, and they're hinged. And today I was working on I have an old garage door opener that I'm going to hook up to that. And when you hit a button, it's going to lift those stairs up out of the way. And when you push another button, it's going to bring them down. It's going to be really cool. I'm excited.
That looks very cool.
Yeah.
As I tiptoe around my garage, trying not to trip over headers, heads, and shit all over the place because my trash is all in pieces. I am very jealous of what I'm seeing in the background. That's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I really do like an organized shop, and I've got my buddy Bill Leake is building a really, really cool ride, which you guys will see at some point on a drag and drive, but I'm helping him by welding a bunch of stuff up. I've already welded some tabs on a radiator, and I've got his turbo here, and he needs some flanges welded up on some stainless to mild flanges. Like, I don't know. I'm helping him a lot, so it's good. I like to do it. It's fun.
Yeah. Awesome. No, it's looking good.
Yeah. So how about you?
Yeah, since we talked last, I can't remember when we had John Marks on if I had run an 828. I think I had. So then
I think so. Yeah. At like 175.
Well, it was 173.96, but we can round it up to 174. I'll be good with that.
That's pretty fast. I'm sure that's exactly what Pontiac had, and they engineered that for aerodynamically.
Yeah. Yeah, so then, since then, went on 6 Smokies. I think the car is, after that trip's got like 26,000 miles on it so far this year, so it's taken a bit of a beating, but 6 Smokies, like, we did, Death Week was probably my favorite event, like, tourist kind of drag and drive event, but 6 Smokies, man, the colors and the drives and the mountains and, the 50 gassers that were on the trip. And, it was
50.
It was, I think there was over 50. I think originally they had planned on 70. I don't know what the final number was, but it was pretty cool to see all of those guys going through the mountains. And, the event was phenomenal. And, what was even better was I had somebody to race, like, because you stayed home, so I had to find somebody else to race. But it's always funny because with drag and drives, you really don't know who's going to show up.
Right.
Sometimes you have an idea of who's going to show up, of the heavy hitters and stuff, and even then, sometimes they still don't show up because they break the day before. So you can't not go because of who's coming. And at these one-off events, though, there's only a helmet for the fastest car. One orange helmet, and then, they've progressed it through the years. I think the second year they also handed out trophies for like fastest stick, fastest Pontiac, but you have to pick which one you want to compete for.
Okay.
But this year, with the gassers involved, they had 3 gasser classes, and each of the winner of the gasser classes got orange helmets. So super cool, and they still had a stick though, and even though it's just a plaque, it don't matter. A plaque is a plaque, and so
That's right.
the
That's
very first test day, I make my pass, and it feels like a fairly decent pass, but then I hear Derek Putnam say, "Well, that's the fastest stick pass so far today," and so I didn't know who it was. I didn't know who was faster than me, other than Finnegan. But like I said, you had to pick which class you were in. So Finnegan, I think, was pretty funny. In fact, I know he checked every box that he was available for, but it clearly said on the bottom, you have to pick one. So they picked for him. They picked Gasser, and I would say on one hand he wanted to compete with the stick guys, but on the other hand, if he would have been with us, he would have got a plaque and not a helmet. So he got a helmet, and he was pretty stoked about that. But so I ended up racing.
Are you saying that he should read the directions?
Yeah, or he should read something. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was funny too, because I made a post that I was like number 1 in stick, and I said, thankfully Finnegan's in Gasser, and so I ran into him the next day, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm the fastest stick car," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you got to pick which class you're in, and you picked Gasser," and he's like, "No, I checked everything off that I could go in." I'm like, "Well, I happen to have an extra set of instructions there, and I took them over, and that was on day 2 while we were all waiting after my good buddy Reggie Moore solved my bad pass by running into the Christmas tree and backing up and taking the cords with it. So,
nice.
But anyways, I'll give you a real quick rundown. So Kyle Buntley was my competition. He's got like a teal Mustang, Fox body, LS, single turbo.
What did you say?
It weighs about 3,000 pounds. And clearly the LS didn't like to be in the Ford, or the Ford didn't like the LS, because those two were not having a good party together the whole week. So day 1,
sucks.
it was a built 427, so he had the right number, wrong engine, but he blew up the first engine on the first day, and his shop's really close, so they drove to his shop, swapped in a 5.3 that had a few good parts in it, and made it for day 2. So day 1 I went 5.62, he went 5.76. Did I say day 2? Day 1. That was day 1, and then day 2 there was chaos. Rovic and I went down. We had walked the track, and it was a sketchy, pretty sketchy shutdown, and so both of us hit our brakes, locked our brakes up. I blew a front tire. Rovic flat spotted both of his. I can't remember, and it was a shitty pass. Both of us spun, so it was not good. But they told us if you pulled your parachute, you have to pack your parachute before you get off the track, and the end of the track is downhill, and so you can't see it from the front. So it was like, well, I'm not pulling my parachute. Like, who's going to know that I'm down there packing my chute and somebody else comes flying down there? So anyways, didn't pull my chute on the first one, wrecked my front tire, put my street tires on, went back up there, went 5.85, pulled the chute, but didn't have it set up correctly, and it was hanging on by just a nub. So now, not only did my chute not come out, but my brain said, you won't have to hit the brakes as hard. So I was like, thankfully I was by myself, and I was using the whole track. Like, I was moving back and forth, trying to make sure I didn't lock my street tires front up, or mess those ones up, because if those ones mess up, then I'm running out of tires at this point.
And you got some fancy brakes on there now, right?
Yeah, the TBMs. Well, and it was interesting. That's why I'm pretty sure there was a bump right at the transition of the eighth mile to the shutdown lane, and Rovic unloaded both of his tires, and I only unloaded my left front tire. But yeah, the TBM's got quite a workout this whole trip. I mean, tail of the dragon and all that kind of stuff. But super happy with them. I took some measurements for them. But yeah, there's still lots of meat left on the pad. Super happy with them.
Nice.
So anyways,
nice.
Day 2, Kyle goes 578. So he goes 576 day 1, 578 day 2. His average is 577. If I hand in my 585, I'm like 573. So I'm ahead. They're tired. I go over to his pits and basically go, I'm not going to make another pass if you guys aren't making another pass. And I know you're tired, so they didn't make another pass. But then Reggie took out the tree and they threw that day away. So now I still got a fairly decent lead on him.
Yeah.
Thanks, Reggie.
Nice.
I felt bad for Reggie though, man. I mean, they were encouraging him. They wanted a show, right? So they're doing dry hops. They got backup girls for the gassers. They're putting on a good show. So, Reggie tried to do a dry hop and did a wheelie, like a good wheelie, and ran right into the Christmas tree. And that would have been fine, not for his car, but when he backed up, it grabbed the cord and ripped it out of the tree, and they just couldn't get it going again. So,
oh, jeez.
anyways, day 3, Kyle went 560. I went 563. So the margin closed a little bit. But that's what made it fun. Like, I put way more passes on because I couldn't settle at all. Because I think the next car was quite a ways away from us, but. So I can't remember how many passes it took to get 563, but anyways, I'm still ahead. Day 4 was a video that was posted. We're up in staging lane. Derek Putnam happens to be on the mic and down in staging. He's like, "You guys want to race each other?" It was like, "Oh yeah!" So we went up there, and Derek does such a good job. There was people lined up against the fence. The stands were packed, and everybody wanted to see this number 1 and number 2 stick shift go at it. So we went up there, and I just keep working to try to get better on the lights. So anyways, I treed Kyle by just a smidge. He 60 footed. He went on 126 to my 135. And if you're curious what that looks like, it looks like about a car length, actually. I didn't really see him, but when you watch the video, he had a car length on me by the 60 foot. And then the powered Pontiac left him behind. I went 548 at 135, and he went 555, I think, at 126. And so it was great. We got to the top of the track. We're high-fiving. Like, it was a close race. Like, it.
Yeah.
Until the lights came on, I don't think people knew who won. Like, it was that close at the top.
Nice.
And so.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
While we're talking,
that's pretty close.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Yeah. So while we're talking at the top, he's like, "Yeah, it almost kind of felt like it laid over a little at the top," and so far, he's changed one engine out, and I think maybe he hasn't changed head gaskets yet. No, he hasn't changed head gaskets yet. So he's got a different motor in. So he goes up there again to try to better his time, because I'm further ahead of him. And he goes up there. Yeah, he's got it, right? Like, and he's a competitor. He wants to win like everybody else.
You're either first or you're first place loser, right?
Yeah. And so he goes up there, puts the thing on the 2-step, and while it's on the 2-step, it blows a frost plug out of the head. And is pouring water out on his passenger side, where he doesn't even know what's going on. So the the guy tries to run up and stop him, but he's too late. So Kyle takes off, water gets on the tire, he goes into the right lane. I don't even know if he went in the right lane, but he got a hold of it really quickly and then pulled over. So here we are, day 4, and he's got to do head gaskets. So they do head gaskets, but they get used head gaskets, and when they bolt it all together, like 10 o'clock, they fire it up, and it's pissing out all over the place. So calls up some buddies. Now they're bringing him heads and head gaskets, and thankfully the next day was an all-day drive day, so those guys are troopers. There was three of them there, so they swapped on. They took it all apart again, put another set of heads on and head gaskets, and made it to day 5.
Wow.
Day 5 race day, because
Okay.
yeah, and because the next day was the Tail of the Dragon, so they did that day's drive and Tail of the Dragon, and still made it to the hotel at a good time. So, I think 10, 11 o'clock they were at the hotel, but they had a full day.
Yeah.
And then so there was 6 race days. So day 5, we went up there, and I was a complete shit show that day. So I had shortened the rod because I'd been making enough passes that I wore my clutch out.
Yeah.
Or was starting to wear the clutch, and as you wear it, the fingers get closer and the pedal gets higher in the travel. And Finnegan and I were supposed to have a race for $100, a grudge match, so I wanted my pedal close to the floor so I could cut a good light. Anyways, I shortened the rod, and I'm actually running around for the Rotson to get head gaskets. And when after I'd shortened the rod, typical, things are working in my brain. I think I wonder how much free play I have now. So I grab the clutch pedal with my foot and I lift it up, and the rod falls out. And so it's heim joint on one end, and the other end is pushing in the clutch fork. And I'm just about at AutoZone or whatever it is that I'm going to pick these things up. So I have no clutch anymore. So now I've got, I think, 4th gear or something. So I make it into the parking lot. I pop it back in. And my brain goes, okay, well, don't do that again, because clearly the rod will fall out.
Okay.
Get changed over, go up there, go to make the first pass. I do the burnout, go to push the clutch in, no clutch pedal. Rod's falling out again. And so I'm at like the 300 foot with no clutch pedal. I kick it out of gear, and I'm thinking, well, what do you do? Like, I can't tell somebody else to climb under my car and put this rod in. So I get out of the car, climb under. I got my helmet on. I got my hands device on. I'm reaching in there, and I'm trying to get a hold of the rod, and I get the rod, and I pop it back in, and I get back in the car, and Matt Blasco, thankfully, is there, like, whispering in my ear. He's like, all right, Rich, just calm down. You'll be able to just take your time. It's only Rovic in the other lane. Like, it really doesn't matter. And so there's a video online. I think it's got like 750,000 views.
Nice.
Anyway, so then I go up, line up against Rovic, dump the clutch. I go 560 at like 124 miles an hour, because I think when I put it in third, I was holding it in third, still pushing on the top of my micro switch shift knob.
Yeah.
And so it cut. The 560 6 months ago, I would have been ecstatic, but 560 now, I'm like, no, there is more in it, because it was a decent 60 foot, like a 135 60 foot. And so then I'm thinking, when I get back to the pits, and I'm thinking, well, clearly I have to extend the rod. So I extend the rod, but I extend it too much. Just a shit show. Anyways, I go up there. I put it on the 2-step. I go to ease in to the beams, and every time I light the first beam, foot on the floor, I go to ease it, and I blow through the beam. I back up, do it again, blow through the beam. Back up, do it again, and I'm trying every time, but the pedal is so high in the stroke, and I don't know if it's the geometry that was going on down there, but I could not bump that thing in without bumping through the light. So the third time, I bumped through the lights and I just drove down and went back to my pits. I tried to hide as I'm driving past all the fans and in the stands, and so then I went back. I adjusted the rod one more time, changed the spring position, made sure that there was no way it could fall out, made sure I was happy with the pedal position, went up, and I might have raced Kyle on that one, and I went 552 to his 590 or something. Like he didn't have a good pass, and I think he had been 570 earlier in the day.
Yeah.
But pretty much finished him off at that point, or at least I had thought I had finished him off at that point. And I think they might have had to do head gaskets again. Clearly, LS wasn't happy in that little Ford motor, but anyways, or in that Ford. But so we last day we go up. The track is like hooking good, but I knocked the tires off and rattled them really hard. Blasco comes back to the pits and he's like, everybody's saying you got to hit it harder. Don't take any power out because the track is really good. And so I'm doing what I was just doing, and I put a little bit more in. I go up there, 135, 60 foot, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's going good, like 1350. So it's like right on the money of what I've been doing. First gear feels fine. Second gear feels fine. I go to shift in third gear, and I got chaos underneath the car. The drive shaft U-joints at the back are like one of them's completely gone. So first pass was a 610. Second pass was a 613 with no drive shaft attached. And so now I'm doing the math, and Kyle can still beat me. If he ran like better than a 540, which he hadn't done all week, but the car has clearly got the combination to do it.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing is, so I have another drive shaft, and I switch it all over. I get everything ready like I'm going to make another pass, because if I need to make another pass, I will. But as you know, anytime you break something with a stick, you don't really know if that's all you broke was the drive shaft. So I take it out onto the highway.
Yeah.
And it's all jacked up in the back because of we aired it up because we had to pull the axles, or no, just so we could tighten up the because we thought we were going to have to pull the 9-inch out too, because we busted up the yoke a little. Anyways, going down the highway, it's good in fourth gear. I put it in fifth gear and start to get some speed, and it's got a vibration. And I'm thinking, that's not good. Put it in sixth gear. Yeah, it's not getting any better. And I'm thinking, well, it is what it is. I drive back. The transmission's working. I haven't broke the rear end, but I got a vibration. So I go in, park it in the pits, and then I go up and watch Kyle. I can't remember what Kyle's best pass was. 75, 580. So, and I watched him make his last pass, and it was coughing and spitting, and I think he heard it again. But anyway, so I was hoping for a 550 something average. Ended up with a 560. I think a 567 because I had to turn that pass in. But it was fun. Like you can probably hear it in my voice that having somebody to compete against. That's close to you is way more fun than being. It just forces you to make more passes and beat up on shit more, and drive your car. So
yes, that's awesome. But I tell you, my connection is not super stable. I don't know if you're seeing it on your end, but we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I noticed that you're freezing, but I haven't lost your voice. Only the picture.
Okay, well then we'll be good. Nobody wants to look at me anyway, so it's okay.
Yeah, so I got first in stick, and I was 9th overall out of 250 cars or something. It's top 10. Nice. So I got the top 10, and so yeah, it was great. And then driving home, still got the vibration. So we drive like 3 hours after the event. Stay in a hotel. I wake up at 7 o'clock. I pull the 9-inch out. Put my other 9-inch in, my 340 gears. I have a look at it when I pull it out, and I'm looking at it thinking there's nothing wrong with this 325 gear set. It's It's probably fine. Sure enough, go for a drive, no change. Hit up my buddy Jeremy Heiser in St. Louis as we're driving towards there. Do you know anybody? Yes. Geez, I wish I could remember those guys' names. PAC or something. I'll get it to you so we can put it in the notes. But anyways, they took my drive shaft that I broke, fixed it up, balanced it, and then we were right back in the money. That thing is as smooth as can be. They did tell me to throw it out because they had to weld on it a little bit, but everybody who knows me knows where it's going to go. It's going right in the trailer as a backup, and then I have a Mark Williams drive shaft on the way, so pretty much it'll be a pro mod when I put that thing on.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, any Mark Williams parts makes it a pro mod.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that was the last event so far for the year, right?
Yeah, on the way home, it was filling up the catch can. Like every tank every day of driving, the catch can was getting full. I mean, it ate like for my Canadian friends, a toonie size chunk of aluminum, scarred up a cylinder. Plus, I've had one NA piston in there for a couple of years, so it was time. It was time for a freshen up. So it's getting bigger pistons because we need more cubic inch, and it'll be a 525 now.
And whose pistons?
CP pistons.
Okay, nice.
Unless they keep delaying them, then we might be calling somebody else. But hopefully CP will come through. Bunch of Crower parts. I sent my lifters and my rockers back to Lewis to get freshened up. I bought some new Manton push rods with tool steel end. I don't know, they call them tool steel, but I think they're gold steel, like, because they're really expensive.
Are you putting fresh ones in there? Fresh push rods?
Yep.
Okay.
I have. There's a couple things going on. I mean, the ends do take a bit of a beating with that many miles, right, with a solid lifter, and then, but these ones don't owe me anything. Like, these push rods probably have 100,000 miles on them. But they've got some rub marks, like part way down the tube. I got to double check and see if it's head gasket, or if it's just rubbing on the head. But anyways, it's time.
That keeps them from oscillating. You know that, right? It stops the oscillations when they rubble.
Yeah, I'm not. Don't worry. I'm not hogging out the head. That just keeps them straight. So they're rubbing.
Yep.
Honestly, the car works so good that I'm trying not to screw it up. Like, Blasco asked me, "Are you going to put a different cam in it?" And I'm like, "Nope." Like, it's making all the power I need. Like, what? And everything's surviving. The combo is great. It's just it's the wingnut behind the wheel and the tuner, who's the same guy. Yeah, I'm just going to keep tweaking away on this combo. There's no need to change any of it in my mind. So, other than making the car lighter would be the smart thing to do. But
yeah, you could put that aluminum block in there that you have.
It's in Wisconsin or something now, so I still own it. No one's bought it off me, but that's okay. That was part of the deal. I took it down to Rob Sinker. He was going to have a look and decided to go a different way. So I'm not actually sure who's got the block right now, but that's okay. We'll figure it out.
Nice. Well, do you think we should get into how to start stick shift racing? We've already covered carnage and a lot of stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's give the caveat right now that by no means are Bill and I the experts, but we can tell you what we've learned through our many years of stick shift racing and the transition from 500, 600, 700 horsepower range all the way up to 1800 horsepower ish range, and some of the things that you can do.
Definitely. All right, so on the list, number 1, get a stick shift car and give your purse away.
Yes.
So if you don't know what that
way
means,
more fun.
if you have an automatic, we know you have a purse somewhere in your car. And with the stick shift, you don't need a purse. So you can get rid of it. But obviously your options are rear wheel drive, front wheel drive, or all wheel drive. And that just means all the carnage. so
Yeah.
so yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, even when you watch like Doug Cook and those guys in that giveaway car and it was a stick, or Cletus in his latest giveaway car and it's a stick, like you just, soon as they get in and they're like banging gears, you could just tell how much more fun they're having than, just with an automatic, and like it's just not the same.
It's not. So okay, so let's say you have a stock stick shift car, and let's just pick one. Maybe we'll do like a Camaro, a newer. I don't even know what series that would be, but like a
like my 2010. My 2010 Camaro.
Okay,
it's getting sold tomorrow. So like if I was going to take that car to the track, I would take it on a street night. I would leave the street tires on it, and my strategy at that point would really be, I think that car has some sort of a launch mode that's like 3,000 RPM.
Okay.
And so depending on how the track is, if I got street tires on, I would drive around the water because it's just going to make it worse. And I don't know, I actually don't know the compound on those tires, but I think a 3,000 RPM launch might actually knock the tires off. So that's good because it's not going to break anything. But at the same time, if I was looking for, I guess what would you expect? I'm thinking if you can get somewhere around a 2.0 60 foot in a car like that with street tires, you're actually doing pretty good. I think that's kind of a good number to shoot for. If you can get,
that's a stock LS, so stock V8 car. Making, I think 300 horse maybe?
No, it's 426 before headers and stuff.
Okay. All right. So it's
think it's like it's like a 13 and a half second car, like from the factory.
Nice. Nice.
So yeah, I mean, I think I would, my strategy would be like a 2,000, 2,500 RPM, like rev it up to about that point, and then ease the clutch out, foot to the floor, and try start there anyways. And it's so much different than if you have sticky tires. And what would you do, Bill?
Well, the same. I mean, I always tell people, they talk about, I want to do this nitrous and a blower and all this kind of stuff. How's is the transmission going to be okay? And I'm always like, you know what? It's going to be just fine until you get traction. Like, you're not going to hurt anything spinning the tires. But as soon as it hooks up, you're going to start breaking everything. So yeah, it's super important just to be easy on the clutch, easing it out. And if it's not a real prep surface and you don't have a good tire on it, and you feel confident slipping it with your foot, you can do that. There are options for devices to help aid a diaphragm clutch in slipping. Of course, I'm biased to the BangShift Billy digital clutch controller, but there's a clutch tamer and a hitmaster. Garrett Leach makes a really nice kind of a upgraded version of that same thing. And then perhaps one of the Magnus one is also good. You'd have to have a hydraulic clutch for that, just like the BangShift Billy. But the clutch tamer and Garrett Leach's version, and I'm not sure if he has a name for it yet, but those two versions will work on any clutch because it mounts to the clutch pedal itself and is irrelevant whether it's cable, mechanical, or hydraulic. But those would help slip the diaphragm clutch, and they also give you room to go upward as far as power and performance because it'll help control that launch a little bit.
And I think the other important part is what does your 400 or 500 horsepower car have in it for a clutch? Like if it's got a diaphragm clutch, which Most of them are all going to have diaphragm clutches with
Yeah.
a sprung hub. The disc material is pretty key too. Like some will take quite a beating. Actually, a lot of the factory stuff will take quite a beating.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to let it cool down between. And so that will save you too. Like if the clutch will slip, then you're doing good. So why don't we move on from like, okay, forget the Camaro with stock tires. Guido just went out and bought some slicks. Now to your
Oh
point,
boy.
if
boy.
I go up
Okay.
there and use the launch mode and dump the clutch, depending on how good the clutch is, or like the clutch might slip and it might actually go pretty well. But you're not
Yeah,
really going to know.
If it's an organic, yeah, and a factory clutch
If
would be
it's
an
an
organic clutch, yeah.
Yeah. And so here's what you got to play with. You got to play with launch RPM. You got to play with tire pressure. Are really two of the biggest ones. So you can put a lot of air pressure in the tires to help them turn, because something's got to turn or everything's going to break.
Yeah, and what do you say is a lot of tire pressure? And we're talking about a bias ply slick here, not a radial.
That's right. Yes, definitely until you get a adjustable clutch, you're pretty. Or you've sorted out your slipper device. Do not put a radial on there because they work great when they're dead hooking, and that's how they're designed. But you need to be able to turn that slick. So I would say, the Camaro is 4,000 pounds. I would start at like 25 pounds of pressure in that tire.
Yeah.
Just to try to get it to turn.
Yeah.
And if it turns, that's okay. It's actually meant to turn, but you got to tell your brain that if that tire is turning, don't let off the gas, which is sometimes hard to do. But
yeah, because the slick actually works. I think I've read with up to 40% slippage, it's still working really effectively. And it looks cool as shit when it's launching and it's like going a little sideways and stuff, and you're just in it and you're driving the car like that slick's doing its job. Like it's supposed to do that. Now that's different than absolutely blowing it off, but with 400 tire, you're not probably going to do that. So
yeah, I mean, like if we talk about you and I at our first drag week, like this is what we were dealing with, right?
Yep.
Like we were. I don't know if I had a clutch tamer on my car at that point, but I definitely didn't have an adjustable clutch. I was 716 horsepower, TKO 600, and had two TKO 600 because I'm pretty sure I broke one of them on the first trip because of exactly what we're talking about. We were both running slicks. But yeah, you need something to turn. And if you find the right combination of tire pressure and launch RPM, you're good. And the scary part is typically the higher you launch, the better chance you're going to have of turning the tire. But if it dead hooks, adios, amigos.
That's right. Get the wallet out.
Yeah, get the wallet out is right. Yeah. That's GTO. Get the wallet out. Yeah.
Yep.
But and so that I think that's really your first. The other thing I knew there was three. The other one is the burnout. Actually, that's what helped me a lot in my early days. Is if you did a really big, hot, smoky burnout, that tire wants the hook. But if you actually just do a quick little scrub.
Just
sometimes
clean them off.
like hardly don't even make smoke. That's another really good way to launch, get the tire to turn, and keep stuff together. Because you're using. I would say those are kind of your three tools that you have. Never launch in second gear. I hear people say that all the time. You ever tried to launch in second gear? And I'm like, yeah.
Not on purpose.
My clutch, not on purpose, but yeah, right. Exactly.
One thing I'll say from that very first drag week, which was 2013 when you and I met. So I had about 420 higher. No, it was actually more because we were at sea level, so it was higher. But I had too much clutch in the car, and and it was a weird clutch. Like one side was Kevlar, and the other side was like sintered bronze or something. It was pretty aggressive, and I didn't know anything about slipping the clutch. I was just dumping it, and I think I had the two-step set at like 6,200, and the top rev limiter was at 65, and it was brutal. And that Kevlar actually melted itself to the flywheel, and that's how you and I met. And I won't go through all the stories, but I drove it to the next track basically, or to a car wash without having a clutch I could disengage. And we ended up putting like an $18 Napa when you could just buy the disc, organic disc in it with the same setup. And it worked so much better because it slipped just a little bit. But if you're over clutched, that's a problem. It's actually better to be under clutched, providing it holds in top gear. And that's where the most load is in fourth gear. If you're holding there, then it'd be okay if it slips a little down low.
Yeah. And the funny part I was going to mention too is guess when you're going to make your very best pass? It's right before the clutch fails.
Yep.
Because it's going to slip beautifully off the line, and it acts like a converter going down the track, and you get your time slip and you're happy, and you go up and go to make the next pass, and you drive right through the clutch, and it's over.
You know, it's so funny you say that, because the first 8-second pass I made, that's exactly what happened. And the next pass, it wouldn't take over 7 or 10 pounds of boost. It just blew right through the clutch. But yeah, it slipped real nice in first gear, and it was my first 8-second pass. So yeah, you're exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, and then so as you start to creep up in horsepower, the challenge that you can run into with some of these devices is it's not really the device issue. It's you need so much clamping force that the clutch becomes digital. It's either 0 or 1. and the tuning window is super narrow. And so you're trying to modulate in this very small range. And, you know, Tony Politano is having really good luck, but he's also dealing with a much lighter car. And so, You know, Bill and I are giving you some experience on pretty heavy cars, but as the car is lighter, like you've got more window to play. The tire will turn easier.
That's
you
true.
Don't need as much of a digital clutch, and so yeah, that's where it gets challenging.
So let's back up just a little bit. So we're talking originally about an organic disc clutch, and those work pretty well. They are more heat sensitive, so the hotter you get, the more they slip to the point where they're just not going to hold, and then you just cook them. And then typically the next step up is a guy will step up to a ceramic type clutch. A lot of times they'll make, because I get lots of questions, a lot of times a guy will be running like a McLeod RST, which is a twin disc organic clutch, and they're rated up to about, I think, 700 horse. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think so.
And then they'll make the jump to the RXT, which is really the same clutch. The only difference is it's a twin disc ceramic discs instead of organic. And then those will hold about 1,000 horsepower. And then the next step up is the RXT HD, or 1,200. And really the only difference is it has a heavier pressure plate, and that one's rated to about 1,200 horsepower. Still a ceramic disc. And the ceramic disc works really nice. It's easy to modulate on the street. It's not super, super digital. But then once you reach the limit of that, and you're still going to use a diaphragm type clutch, then you start getting into what they don't really produce. And that is, somebody, Rich Guido, told me to put sintered iron discs in this clutch. And yeah, you can do that. And yes, it will hold a lot more power, but it's much more digital. And when I say digital, like Rich said, it's on or off. And it squeals. Like some people just can't stand it, but when you're on the street leaving a stoplight, that thing squeals and everybody's going to stare at you. But that clutch becomes much more digital and much more difficult to control. But it will hold more power, and it will work to some degree, depending how much power you're making. But like you said, when you start getting into the sintered iron ball game with a diaphragm clutch, the more power you make, you have to start increasing the pressure plate to have more clamping force, just because it needs to hold in fourth gear. And the downside to that is then starting from a stop is very difficult, and it's hard to modulate. So then what's the next step after that when you get tired of that?
Yeah, and it's funny as I listen to you tell this story. So I literally got a stack of clutches, and just about everyone that we're talking about, I got one of them in my garage. Like, I had an RXT with sintered iron discs. I've got a twin 10.5-inch diaphragm like you're running. I had an atomic twin from that had I think those were ceramic discs. Like I went through them all to get to where I am now. But and the RXT, in its factory form, recovers really well too. Like, I think if you're making that,
Yes.
800 to 1,000 horsepower, those are good clutches. Like, they recover well, and you can.
Agreed.
I used a clutch tamer on one for a while, and they were very durable clutches. And McLeod's pretty good about freshening them up for a reasonable price. And I did eventually put sintered iron in there, which McLeod definitely told me not to do. But they probably would tell you also not to race a 4,000-pound stick car. So, I was already, not that smart. So, but I would say as soon as you start getting over 1,000 horsepower, and I don't know, maybe we could say over 3,500 pounds.
Yeah.
The clutch that you need to hold that thing needs to be aggressive, and you either need to put an adjustable clutch in, or you need to have a slipper device like Bill's, clutch tamer, something to help you slip it. But be forewarned, you are dealing in a really narrow range. Because that clutch needs to hold a lot of power up top. And as you get a clutch like that, you also got to think about, if you're driving it on the street, how much bigger your left leg is going to be than your right leg as you go through Chicago traffic at a drag and drive event.
Yes. So let's talk about a couple of things here. I'm just looking at the list that we created. So with a bias ply, some of the other things that are very beneficial with a bias ply tire is that soft sidewall, because it helps. If you don't slip the clutch as good as you think you are, that sidewall will soak up some of that mistake, right? And it reduces the shock load to the car, which is nice. So the bias ply is your friend. Let's see here.
Totally.
And they also work on a less than ideal track surface. They work really well in no prep. Like, pretty much no prep guys are all running a bias ply slick.
Very good.
Yeah, let's mention with that, Mickey Thompson does make a stiff sidewall slick that is designed for stick shift racing. And as you start making more power and have more weight, I always put a tube in mine as well to make it a stiffer sidewall, just because you are just crushing that sidewall. And you get to the point where too much air pressure, it spins a little too much with more power, and you like a little less so it sticks better, but you're also killing that sidewall in the launch. So a tube helps stiffen that up.
Yeah, and the other advantage of a slick too is it gives you some gear ratio going down the track. It grows.
Yeah.
A radial, 28-inch tall radial is going to be 28-inch tall. A slick, and maybe the radial grows a little bit, but the slick can grow quite a bit, which when I switched, that's where I started running out of ratio pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I would bet that bias ply, depending on your mile an hour, will grow 2 inches. Like, you could go from a 28 to a 30 by the end of the track. So
28 to 30 is an increase of 2 or a 7.1.
Google. My phone was just Google picked something up and started talking. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, okay. So let's talk about making the transition from diaphragm to, so you're making 12, 13, 1500 tire, which is probably 15, 16, 17, 1800 crank, right? You make the jump to a slipper clutch, which you did a long time ago. So talk about that.
Yeah, so there's some considerations as soon as you're going to do that. Bell housing is one. Now, I'm sure if you crawled under half of the stick shift cars that have these clutches, you would probably find totally SFI rated, holes cut in the bottom of them. But you have to have good access to be able to access the weights and the adjusters. And like with mine, with a quick time, if you pushed on the clutch and the weights come out, they would actually rub on the bell housing. So I ended up putting a spacer, which is not a bad alternative if you can build a spacer and pull the bell housing back a bit, as long as you have enough room in the pilot bearing that it doesn't pull the input shaft out of the pilot bearing. But
and it's gonna move the transmission back a little tiny bit, whatever the spacer is.
Yeah. And you don't need much, like they're usually really close. So I started with a QuickTime and a spacer, and then I ordered up a Browell, and the Browell wasn't that much more. The QuickTimes are not cheap, and the Browell they will do whatever you want. And I would say if you have access from the top inside the car, like if you're, a 25-2 cage or something, like if you can access it from the top and not have to lie on your back and do it, that's perfect. But I'm not. So I use ramps now. I have a bump button underneath the car, and to be able to do that yourself, fantastic. Now, if you do have a bump button underneath your car, you need a solid routine about how to make sure you don't run your own ass over. Because if you bump it over and it's in gear and you're underneath, it's a bad day. So I always bump it over under my hood.
Might be your last day. Could be your last day.
Yes. Safety first. So definitely, if you're going to do that, especially because most of these transmissions don't have a neutral safety switch. So, and if you're bumping over the starter with the key off, it probably wouldn't work anyways. So, yeah, you got to make sure you have a bit of a routine so that you can do that. I know lots of guys just turn it over with a wrench. My car is too long. By the time I move it that many times, and I can do it really quick with a bump button underneath the car. It's a great way to set it up. You just got to be careful. What else do we talk about there? There's some good wrenches that make it really easy. We could probably throw a link in the description, like a little ratcheting 1/4 inch, one that typically would have like a screwdriver on it. Like I can adjust my clutch in, 10 minutes. It takes longer to put it up on jacks or drive it up on jack stands and to adjust it. But I try to make it so that I don't have to adjust my weights every time. It just the knob. And like CJ Roberts, who hopefully he listens to these, like he just kicked ass on Street Neat. Like he's been on here before, but yeah, we gotta get him on here because that that car, he just put it together, and he might have went a 4, but the timing screwed up, and so the timing actually said he went 487, but it also said he went like a 0.9 60 foot. So we know it's not right, but yeah, on all the incrementals, he figures it was somewhere between a 497 and a 505 or something. So he won Street and Yeet, and yeah, it was an impressive performance for sure.
And is that a Mustang with an LS motor?
He never adjusted his clutch once.
Nice.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Nice. That's okay.
Yeah.
Does he have a Mustang with an LS?
I don't actually know if it's an LS. It is a Mustang, though.
Well, we better have him on here and find out.
Yeah. Yeah, he did really good. That looked like a fun event. There was definitely some fast. Rob Warwick was also there. He came up to the Montana Dragon Drive, drove all his car all the way up. He was second, and he was like 5 teens. Like, he was killing it too. Like, I don't know what his best pass was. Maybe like a 5:12 or something, but both those guys were, yeah, they had some fun competition there. So
nice.
But so you can,
Let's,
depending on like he didn't have a trailer either, which allowed him to drive that whole event without adjusting his clutch. So you can drive it without adjusting. It's just for me pulling a trailer that's 1,800 pounds, going 80 miles an hour up and down through Wyoming and Montana. I need to adjust my clutch.
So let's, for the people that don't know what you're talking about when you say adjust the clutch from drag strip mode to street drive mode, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so essentially, like mine is a single 11-inch disc, and it's got it's got 6 adjusters on it, and the adjusters are basically like a valve spring, and you can apply more pressure, which applies more base pressure. Think of it just like a diaphragm clutch. So you can have as little as like 500 pounds pressure, or you can crank it up and have like 2,100 pounds of pressure, all by adjusting these 6 springs. And so they're just an Allen head that you just get in there,
and that's
and
called
you
the
can
base pressure.
That's called the base pressure. Yeah. And then there's the counterweight, and so all my clutch it's a 6-finger. So there's each one of the fingers has a little hole in the end where you can add counterweight. So at launch RPM 4,300, maybe the counterweight is adding an additional 1,500 pounds to the 500 pounds of base. And what it does is it really allows, if you took a 3,500 pound pressure plate and you think about the difference that applies compared to the 1,500 or whatever you're applying, that way you can make the clutch slip. And so same thing, you kind of have the same triggers. The higher RPM you launch, the more the counterweight kicks in, the more pressure it applies, the harder it's going to hit the clutch and the tires and everything else. The lower RPM, the same. If if you try to launch the thing at 2,000 RPM, I will tell you, my clutch in launch mode, if I go to drive out of the pits, it will slip like full on. Like it literally sounds like it goes and grabs like it's that loose at low RPM. But at 4,300 RPM, it's somewhere in the probably 1,800 pounds of pressure. But at 7.5 pounds of boost and somewhere around 900,000 horsepower, it drives right through the clutch, but it doesn't. But it's hooking, like it's moving, like it feels like a converter when it's working right, and the rest of the pass feels so much better when you get a nice smooth converter like launch with your stick car.
Well,
that makes sense?
You and I have talked about, this, but when the launch is a mess, you get behind the entire pass. The whole pass you're behind. And when the launch is nice like that, you're like, oh, okay, here comes 7,000 or whatever. Here comes second gear. Oh, here's third gear. Let's shift. Let's fourth gear. When it's a mess, you're like, oh my God, whoa, God, shit, shift. Oh God, shift up. And you're just trying to keep up, and it's just not. And smooth is fast. It feels slow, but it's actually fast. When it's smooth and everything is controlled and you're just shift, 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 nice and smooth, that's fast.
Yeah. And sometimes like I've had the clutch slip all the way down a pass before, but it's still pulling hard. And you can still run a good time, but you best let that clutch cool down afterwards and add some more weight. But
right. Yeah, it's like lava in there. It's so hot.
Yeah, exactly. A good rule of thumb that Ben Strader and I have chatted about, and shared with Bill even when he made the transition, is that if you can apply, and it's a weird rule of thumb because it makes no sense, but whatever horsepower you're at, if you're at like 1800 horsepower, if you can aim for somewhere around 1800 pounds of pressure, that'll get you in the ballpark. Actually, it's a good starting point. So you got to figure out what your base pressure is, plus adding in the counterweight pressure at that RPM, and then start there. And you've got some triggers to pull. Like if it slips too much, just increase the RPM a little bit. If you don't want to adjust, if it hits the tire too hard, you can also lower it a little bit. Depending on how close you are, you can go 100 RPM, but if you're way off, you can go a couple hundred RPM. You can make that move either way, and it's actually quite amazing how much that different launch RPM makes a difference.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve when you switch to the adjustable clutch, and there's a couple of different options. I mean, you and I both run a single disc 6-lever clutch. But you did, and I think you still have a twin disc. And one of our really good friends, Brent, he runs a twin disc, like 8-inch, twin 8-inch clutch. And that's who makes his clutch? A Youngblood clutch. Yeah, and you've had a Youngblood as well. Yeah. So there's a number of different options out there for slipper clutches.
Kind of losing
there's the silence. My connection must suck.
That was the first time I've actually lost you when you were talking. So.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if you caught all that, but I was just talking about the different options in slipper clutches. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ram has them too. I mean, I've got a couple of KLs. I've got a Next Gen, and I have a Defiant. And they have different finger design on them. For some people, especially higher RPM, like I know Will Hogan, he runs a Defiant clutch, and it's working for him. I had to modify the fingers on mine, not recommended, but it wasn't working. So you got to do what you got to do when you're in Canada, and shipping is expensive. So I did get it to work for me, but there's definitely options out there. Looks like we totally lost Bill. Now we can really have fun. Hopefully he'll dial back in here. But yeah, there's definitely some options. So once Bill gets back on here, hopefully he will. I'm gonna scoot right to an audience question. So. We didn't post anything about doing this, but a few people had asked us. So, Bill's messaging me. Hold on. He's got to run up to the house. Anyways, Ethan from Heathen's Garage had a question for us. Now, before I get to that, if you haven't subscribed to Heathen's Garage on YouTube, you should go do that. He just recently taught everybody some life lessons about towing with a tractor. That video scared the shit out of me because we almost lost Ethan, but he hooked up his old tractor above the axle, and when he went to pull out this other tractor, the tractor flipped over backwards. And thank God he scrambled and got out of the way, otherwise Ethan wouldn't be with us. But it's a good video to watch. I grew up on a farm. Nobody ever told me that either, so... And because he was filming for YouTube, he's got lots of good angles of the almost bad accident. And, I think it's pretty cool that Ethan shared that with us. He could have very easily buried it, but, the fact that it might save somebody else's life tells you what kind of a stand-up guy Ethan is. But anyways, that was a little... Side note, Heathen's Garage, if you're bored, go look at that on YouTube. So here's this question. It says, Dear Clutch Burners, I am an avid stick shift enthusiast and never miss an episode of your podcast. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. As an amateur drag racer in a stick truck, I have broken a lot of parts. Yeah, we'll talk about what parts you need to upgrade here shortly. Especially from the engine back, transmission, drive shaft, U-joints, differential, axles. I'm going to throw in wheel studs. My next question, as a beginner who will be going the T56 route in the near future, how do I keep my little drag truck together? What expensive parts should I buy right off the bat? And what will I need to buy in the future? So I think we touched on most of that. I don't know how heavy the truck is, but yeah, it definitely slicks. Definitely lots of tire pressure. And depending on what clutch you have, I would step up with some sort of tamer, unless you're going to go right to an expensive clutch right off the bat. That will help you with your consistency for sure. It says for reference, it says 3,200 pounds. Basically a lightweight compared to you guys. Currently aiming for 600 horsepower out of a turbocharged small block Mopar. Hopefully Bill's gonna pop back on here. I can see my 3 little dots on my phone. Said give him a few minutes. No worries, I can keep talking. So yeah, Ethan's right at that mark where he needs a pretty good clutch in that thing for 600 horsepower at 3,200 pounds. So, honestly, I think an RXT clutch would be a great one, and then throw one of the slipper devices on if you have mechanical linkage. I think Garrett Leach is a great design because you can launch in first gear with it, and then it gets ignored in the other ones. If you have a hydraulic throwout, Garrett or Bill's, both of them work great. But something's gonna have to turn, and if something doesn't turn, something's gonna break. So, launching with enough RPM that it's gonna turn the tire, launching with enough air pressure in the tire that it'll turn, but you won't just knock the tire off. I would say always start on the high side, like start at 25 pounds. And then slowly decrease the tire pressure by like a PSI until it stops spinning less. But it's going to take some testing in order to do it. The other thing with a slick too is if you try to soften the RPM launch too much, you're going to end up hooking and then running over the tire and bogging all at the same time. So you got to launch with enough RPM that it hits the tire stays loaded, and you can accelerate. As soon as you hit that tire hard and unload the tire, then you end up just wheel hopping, and it just, you bend all kinds of stuff. So that 3,200 pound, 600 horsepower range is right where it's starting to get pretty tricky because you're making enough power to hurt stuff. But RXT, I would say an RXT is a great clutch at that point, and McLeod's great at servicing them. And let's see what else we got here. So let's talk about upgrading some parts. So 1350 U joints, pretty much a must. Wheel studs. Both Bill and I went through this too, where you're taking the wheel off the hub and you got to turn it because the studs are all bent. So I think as soon as you start getting up in the 1,000 horsepower range, just do yourself a favor, go 5/8, and so you don't have to worry about it, because the automatic guys can get away with it, but the small studs, you're just going to bend them eventually. You're way better off upgrading to some really good wheel studs, and I would go right to 5/8, so you're not having to redo that. Axles, same thing. I had some Moser 31 spline axles. I broke them as soon as I started hooking hard enough, so I went to a 35 spline. Probably in the spot now where I almost need 40 spline. So, Mark Williams, Moser, any Strange that makes a bunch of good stuff too. So stepping up to one of those guys and putting some better axles in. I think, it's also important to understand your motor mounts and your transmission mounts. Those are another place. Like, you either got to chain the motor down because you'll start ripping the motor mounts out, or what I've done is at the back where the bell housing is, I've bolted 2 little ears that come off of there, and they go right to the frame. So I've got a little bit of room on the passenger side so it can move a bit, but the driver's side is pretty much locked down so that it doesn't rip the motor mounts out.
Hi.
Hey, there's Bill.
Back. Have you been filling in the whole time?
I have.
Nice.
I told a little story about Ethan and a tractor, and told people to go have a look at his YouTube page, and then I talked about the. I went through his question and answered his question as best I could, but I talked about upgrading the parts. We really didn't talk about gear ratio and starting line ratio.
Yep.
That's definitely another tool in your toolbox before you go to the track. Once you're at the track, you can't really do much with that. But
That's true.
Having a steeper starting line ratio, and I think you should always aim for going through the traps if you're in the quarter mile at your max RPM.
Right.
So whatever it takes, but depending on what transmission you have, sometimes you have options of first gear, so you can play with that a bit too. But.
Yes, and I would add to that when you have less power, more starting line ratio is usually your friend. But as you get more and more power, you don't want a steep ratio. Like, for example, if you're building a boosted stick shift car and you're going to buy a T56 Magnum, do not buy the one with the 297 first gear. Because if you're making, 700, 800, 1,000 horsepower, you really want that 266 first gear, because it's going to multiply the torque so much, you're not going to be able to effectively put it down. You're going to just always have problems with the chassis and that thing trying to get off the line. So you need less ratio. At least that's been my experience.
Well, yeah. So I just went from a 340 to 325, and my 60 foots. Now, definitely not because of the gear ratio change. I would say it's probably the 1.5 pound of boost I added on the line. But I went from struggling in the mid 1.4s to 135 60 foot's pretty common now. And when I go to sick week, we'll see. Depending on if I end up with a back seat back in my car, I don't know that I'll necessarily push and try to get in trouble with Keith Turk by running a 7, but I'm going to try adding another 1.5 pound of boost on a good track like that. And I think that thing will go a 129 60 foot. I don't know what the input shaft's going to look like when it does that, but I definitely think there's with the mile an hour, it basically says that the car should run a 7. So
yeah, and you've been so close. 828, that's ridiculous. That's so awesome.
Yeah, still not close, but it's got the potential. If I could get the 60 foot down some more, I think it'll do it. And but yeah, that was going from a 340 down to a 325. So I have a 325 rear gear and a 271 first gear. I'm probably going to run my PPG gear set at sick week, and it's got a 259 first gear. So it's even a worse starting line ratio, but the other thing it does is it really makes the clutch work a little harder. So you definitely use a little bit more clutch.
Yeah.
But that is what it is in this game. Like, using up some disc is just part of the game when you're dealing with a 4,000 pound car and 1,800 horsepower. Something has to give. It's way better if it's the clutch disc than anything else.
And honestly, no matter what style of clutch you're running in drag racing, the clutch is a wear item. It's a consumable. So it just is what it is. But I'd rather consume clutch discs than exponential drivetrain parts from everything from the clutch back. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you for filling as I was sprinting from my shop that does not have clearly a stable enough connection to do this from there, which is a bummer. But yeah, thanks for filling in that. So I'll have to go back and
no
listen to it
worries.
because I don't know what all you said. You might have been trashing me, and I have no idea.
No, I should have took the opportunity, but I did not. But no, I just tried to I tried to answer all Ethan's questions there, and thanks for. He was over in my garage actually after the accident that he had there. I just gave him a hug and said, "I'm glad you're still here, buddy, because if you gotta go watch that video. It'll scare the shit out of you." But
The tractor one?
yeah,
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, not intentional
Yes.
for watches, but geez.
yes, definitely hook below the axle. That was a good
Yes.
learning. Like I said, I
most
grew up on a
definitely.
farm. I did not know that either. But so I think we pretty much covered everything. I talked about wheel studs and how both of us had like when you start taking the wheel off and you gotta turn it, you know
Yeah.
that it's time. But yeah, you definitely got to step up there. And
Yeah. Did you talk about bead locks and rim screws and glue?
I did not, but that's a great one.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
So in the beginning, not a bad idea to put a white stripe across the tire and wheel, probably at where the valve stem is. And then you start to see if the rim is moving inside the tire. And if it is, then that's probably the time to think about putting some rim screws in it, both sides. And if you get real crazy and you just want to bypass that, you can get a beadlock wheel, but they do have single beadlocks and double beadlocks. I know, Rich, you run a double beadlock, which is nice because you can change the tire yourself. I have a single beadlock, and I still need a machine to knock the back bead off, but I do put high-tack glue on that back one to keep the tire planted in the wheel, which doesn't help me trying to get it off by myself. But yeah, you don't want that wheel turning inside the tire. That's no good.
Yeah, I I had marked mine, and then I launched the car and just about hit the wall. And when I went back to the pits, I'm like, well, it's only moved an inch. But then I realized it had moved all the way around. It was on the wrong side of the mark. So yes, they will definitely move. Like as crazy as it is, they will move a long ways. And soon as you put tubes in, you pretty much have to screw it, because if the tire turns at all with a tube in, it'll just rip the stem right out of the tube. So as soon as you go to tubes, you're pretty much there's no choice there.
And rim screws look badass. I mean, when you have rim screws, people will be like, "Oh, this guy's here to party."
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. And what about, did we touch on other safety stuff like drive shaft safety loops and all that?
We did not, but yeah, that is a good one. Yeah.
So the NHRA rule book will stipulate if you run a slick, you have to run a drive shaft safety loop. But if you put a stick shift in it, you're going to go drag racing, I would highly recommend it with no matter what tire you're going to have on the car. Just because with a stick and a clutch, and when you get excited, you may not slip it good. You're just going to get violent with it. And if that drive shaft breaks in the front and you're rolling, like, it's going to tear stuff up and it might come up through the floor, and you don't want that. So just put a drive shaft safety loop in it. It's just to help keep everything protected, and it's a good idea. But with slicks, it's required. Yeah. But some of that stuff, it just makes good sense just to do it before it's even required. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Nope, I totally agree. Yeah, and for all our friends out there too that are, getting anywhere close to 10-second range, throw that foam piece of shit out that you got around your neck out the window.
Oh, yes.
And put a hands device on. Just do a little research. It'll be pretty clear why you don't want to run one of those. And
yeah, there's a specific
fire
video.
suit, all that stuff, gloves.
Yeah,
all that
there's a
stuff.
specific video that I don't know if you sent me the link or someone else did, but there's a video of a driver and a co-pilot in a rally car, and they're literally going, I don't know, 18 miles an hour, not very fast, and they went to a ditch. One has a Hans device, one had the donut, and the difference is like you would not want the donut when you see it. Like he literally has kiss marks on his chest because his neck hyperextended so bad. And the Hans, it doesn't do that. You want to be able to walk.
Well, and the other thing is, especially on these drag and drive. I mean, they do what they can, but sometimes it's the other car that takes you out. Like we've seen quite a few accidents like that lately. So you think you got your car all sorted out, it goes straight. You're not, in your head, you're not too worried about it, but lots can happen. Water under your tires, somebody running into you, like all that stuff. But
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that sums up at least our experience.
yeah,
And, like we've been dumb for a long time.
it's a long time. The stack of clutch discs and clutches in my garage is ridiculous, and broken parts. Like, oh
Yeah, the trophy shelf needs a second shelf.
yeah, exactly.
All right, well,
But probably the only other
yeah.
ones, yeah, we already talked Finnegan. Congrats to him. He just, I think he was testing today. He finally went sub cert. He went 846 today at 160 miles an hour.
Nice.
So congrats to him. And once again, congrats to CJ. Like, we will definitely have to get him on here because last time he was on here, oh geez, you know why I can't remember his name? Because he put an automatic in his car.
Oh.
So I got CJ's name. Oh boy, he's gonna beat me up for that. Anyways, yes, we'll have to get CJ on here.
Yes, definitely. All right, well, we're not going to do the TKO round because we don't have a guest. And we've talked enough about all of our stuff. People probably know that. So should we wrap this thing up?
You betcha.
All right, so you hopefully will be able to find the Clutch Burners on all the podcast platforms. And we would love to see you at PRI. I will have a BangShift Billy booth, so come and stop by. And I would love it if you're wearing either a Clutch Burners t-shirt or a Stick Shift Nation hat or shirt or something. But swing by PRI and come check it out. And I think we're good. So we're out of here.
Before we go though, one more.
Oh.
Tail of the Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
And 11 turns and 11 miles. And my cord never once got caught in my steering wheel because I don't have one because I have a belly button on my car. And
Yes.
it was
And
fantastic. I was so glad I didn't have a cord because you watch some in-car footage of people who have cords, and I've heard there was more than one that ripped the cords right out of their buttons while they're doing Tail of the Dragon. So definitely hit Bill up when you're at PRI and check those things out because I love mine. It performed flawlessly the whole week.
Yes, the Billy button, the wireless buttons. It's a pretty cool solution. I might be biased, but I think it's cool.
Yeah,
So
I'm biased because it works really well. So.
nice. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later. Out.
Out.